Well, at Morning Joe today, they decided to reach back into the vault and bring in their elder statesman, one of the sage, wise old men of that network, Chris Matthews. He used to have a show there called Hardball. I'll let you write your jokes yourself for that one. Chris Matthews was commenting on Trump's trade and tariff policies, and then he stumbled upon what he thought was an absolutely brilliant observation. We call it comedy gold.
But there's another thing. I watched on the evening news last night, one of the other networks, and I watched the issue of lumber. Now, you see, we get so much of our lumber, our 2x4s, from Canada. What's where we get it from? Canada. We get our newsprint from up there for newspapers. The fact is we get it. What are we going to do? Have more lumber made in the United States now? What is our plan now? Oh, we're not going to import wood, so we're going to make more wood? We're going to create more wood? Is that it? I don't think we're in a position to simply replicate the imports coming into this country with our own products. It can't always be done. And I think if a wood's example of that, wood. Are we going to make more wood in this country because of our trade deal? I don't think so.
No, the sound still works. I am speechless from the stupidity. What does one say? What our crack team of meme manufacturers at Townhall Media, I think, put it best. With that wise observation. Go find that on the Townhall Media X account and make sure you spread that far and wide. Could we go through this one together? Because I have a couple of things to say.
But there's another thing. I watched on the evening news last night, one of the other networks, and I watched the issue of lumber. Now, you see, we get so much of our lumber, our 2x4s, from Canada. What's where we get it from? Canada. We get our newsprint from up there for newspapers. The fact is we get it. What are we going to do? Have more lumber made in the United States now? What is our plan now? Oh, we're not going to import wood, so we're going to make more wood?
All right. So the idea that Chris Matthews is on television on MSNBC in the morning with Morning Joe talking about making wood, I think is music to Bill Clinton's ears. You know, he sees that and bolts upright in the bed. Oh, who left Cinemax on? Making wood. Now you're talking. Also, can we point out that the manufactured video screen background behind Chris Matthews literally shows treetops? Like more than half the screen is covered with trees. And he's sitting there saying, where are we going to make all this wood? Why? I don't understand. Wood, I can't. I'm looking for the wood, but all I can see is trees back there. Does he not know? Does he not know? All right. So then, this may be one of my favorite parts, because we've commented on the fact that Joe and Mika, who, by the way, let's face it, really a Me Too situation with a happy ending as of now. You know, they were colleagues, co-workers. She was married. They start working together, close quarters, sharing a makeup trailer. One thing leads to another. Now they're still working together and they're married. I'm sure nothing inappropriate happened in the workplace setting. HR department over at Comcast Universal would never let anything like that happen. You have to sit through all of that HR training. But Joe and Mika, you know, they can play footsie under the table there at 30 Rock. In fact, it brings a whole new meaning to the term 30 Rock, doesn't it? So Joe and Mika, Me Too situation with the happy ending, host this show, and we've made no secret of our contempt for these two. They're liars. They're duplicitous. They're an embarrassment. They're also not very bright. Mika, obviously. Joe, well, he was a congressman, but was he really? I mean, really? Joe has shown himself to be, well, the shining intellect of the entire MSNBC lineup, which I think speaks for itself. So Joe and Mika are not very bright. But watch the expression on their faces when they cut back to their shot here after Chris Matthews has just scratched his head, thundering out loud about how America is screwed right now with lumber tariffs because where are we going to make wood in this country? Watch Joe and Mika.
We're going to create more wood? Is that it? I don't think we're in a position to simply replicate.
Even they think he's stupid. Even they know that they have just booked the stupidest guest to say the stupidest thing. And again, let me just point out, he's the elder statesman here. He's the wise old sage. Oh, these issues are so complicated. Let's dip back in the vault and bring back our, when Fox News brings in the elder statesman and wise old sage, it's Brit Hume. A little more gravitas. These guys, they got Matthews. What, because Olbermann wasn't available? Okay, so look at their faces. Inner monologue for Joe Scarborough right now. Holy crap. Suddenly my wife is not the stupidest blonde on this show. He's stunned. He doesn't know what to make of it. They've actually booked a dumber blonde than Mika. They found him.
The imports coming into this country with our own products. They can't always be done. And I think if a wood's example of that, wood. Are we going to make more wood in this country because of our trade deal? I don't think so.
He doesn't think so. He doesn't think we're going to make more wood. Somebody's making wood. Yeah, wood does not grow on trees. Except it kind of does, doesn't it? Over there at the White House, they saw this segment and immediately responded. Yes, actually, that's exactly what they plan to do. They are going to start an immediate expansion of the American timber production because I know you've already sort of put two and two together, but those trees in Canada, in the Great Pacific Northwest, in Vancouver, and in British Columbia, those are the same trees that grow in Washington State and Oregon and in Northern California. Same trees, different soil, American soil. In fact, we have a lumber industry. We used to have a very robust lumber industry. In fact, I'm going to do that thing that Gen Xers do. I'm old enough to remember when we actually didn't rely on Canada for our lumber. We did make our own wood here, Chris Matthews. We still can. We still do. It's just that our volume and capacity has been reduced quite a bit because of environmental wackos like Chris Matthews. Yeah, let's take a quick walk down memory lane. I am literally old enough to remember this. It was 1990, and it was a huge controversy. The spotted owl fight. Yeah, you see, environmental protectionists tried to end the lumber industry in the United States of America, tried to end logging in Oregon and in Washington because of that little critter, the spotted owl. The spotted owl was so rare and so endangered that they couldn't even find a photograph of it. They had to use an artist's rendering. And it was a huge fight. It dominated the headlines. This was a lawsuit that environmentalists like the Sierra Group or some of these other environmental eco-terrorists, they tried to stop the industry because it was endangering the home of this owl. We were told that this owl would only live in old growth lumber and trees. Old growth trees actually happen to be the sweet spot for making wood, as Chris Matthews would put it. And they won. They won because the Environmental Protection Agency is an out-of-control regulatory swamp. And the lumber industry fought it in court. They said people are going to lose jobs. We're not going to be able to create our own lumber here in America. We're going to rely on foreign countries. They're going to have us by the nads. And then 30 years from now, they're going to have a free flow of fentanyl and illegal immigrants coming across the Canadian border, and they won't give a hoot, if I may use a pun about the owl, because they're going to be so reliant on Canada for their lumber. And so America will just, have to deal with it. And, well, here we are. Okay, they didn't predict the fentanyl thing. But they did say, geez, we're America. We've been able to grow and expand this nation unlike any other civilization since the Roman Empire. We've been able to be self-sufficient because God blessed us with North America that has so many great natural resources, including the lumber industry. And by the way, it's our industry, so we're going to make sure we keep planting new trees to replace the ones that we cut down to make wood, because it behooves us. And there was no shortage of trees, mind you. The environmental wackos just wanted to end this industry because they hated growth, expansion, and a capitalist society. And so they made the argument that these owls had to live in old trees. If you planted new trees, these owls wouldn't roost there, and so these owls would become extinct. And they won the argument. It was not based on any actual science or any reality. Maybe it's me, but I think an owl, if they lose their tree where they live, will find another tree, and they're not going to ask the tree how old it is. But what do I know? I thought the virus came from bat soup originally. So that's what happened. The environmental terrorists won, and most of our lumber industry shut down in the Pacific Northwest, and we get our lumber from Canada, which, by the way, also cuts down trees that the spotted owl lived in. The difference is they're Canadians, not Americans, and they don't have an EPA, I guess, or something. I don't know. It doesn't matter, because environmental groups here really don't care about animals. They care about stopping human growth and expansion. Sorry for educating Chris Matthews on how we don't make wood here in America anymore. But the good news is we could, like, immediately turn on a dime and expand our timber industry and our lumber industry, and people would be thrilled with it. And our wood would be cheaper, and we'd have more jobs. Sounds like a good plan all around, doesn't it? But Chris Matthews isn't the only imbecile who's been coming up with this stupid talking point in the last week. Gavin Newsom over in California did too. Steve Hilton takes an Aussie to explain this stuff to Americans. Steve Hilton, formerly of Fox News and a California resident, had a thing or two to say to Gavin Newsom about who's really harming the lumber industry and agriculture and really every other economic engine in California.
So the latest unbelievable, insulting nonsense from Gavin Newsom is this statement he's put out about Trump's tariffs hurting our farmers here in California and raising construction costs because of tariffs on timber. This is unbelievable that he's got the nerve to say this. Who's crushing California farmers right now? Not Trump's tariffs. It's Newsom and the Democrats and their stupid policies taking away the water that our farmers need to grow our food, raising their cost, the cost on everything, electricity, energy, labor regulations, environmental regulations, on, crushing our fantastic agriculture industry. If you really want to help farmers in California, don't go on about Trump. Do something now. Get rid of your stupid policies that are crushing our farmers. And then he talks about construction costs going up because of tariffs on imported lumber from Canada. Why are we importing lumber from Canada? We have all the lumber we need right here in California. But again, because of Democrats' stupid policies, we're not harvesting it in our forests. As a result, the forests are overgrown. We have these mega wildfires, and we're stupidly importing it from other countries instead of using the lumber we have here. Not that long ago, we harvested 6 billion board feet of lumber from our forests right here in California. You know what it is now? 1.5, a quarter of what we used to. So this bullshit from Gavin Newsom about Trump's tariffs hurting our farmers and raising construction costs, he could deal with that problem right here in California by changing their stupid Democrat policies.
Amen. That is absolutely correct. But no, you got to be a wise guy and a smart man and a good old brilliant liberal like Chris Matthews and let everybody know that these tariff policies will never work. It's going to cripple our construction industry because we can't make more wood. Listen, if you're watching MSNBC in the first place, you deserve to be as stupid as the people who are on that network. And I don't think I'm going out on a limb here to say that if you're blaming Trump, you're barking up the wrong tree. I'm sorry. I feel like a real sap. Okay. You don't have to kick me out. I'll just leave.